Trey and Scott.
Got so excited, I'm going to say it at 6:33. But we are here. Steve has the night off. Trey and Calvin in-house, along with Calvin's grandmother, Mary Johnson. We're calling her Granny for the next 30 minutes, and she's got a lot of wisdom to share with us, has already done so on this Mother's Day. Relationship Roundtable, the name of the program, and we're delighted to welcome you and wish all the moms a very happy day, and thanks for all you continue to do 24/7, 365 in the lives of billions of people all around the world. Got to have a mom, right?
Exactly. And I'm blessed to have a great mother who is at home taking care of my Uncle Mike. And I have my grandmother here with me tonight. And I think all of us talk about our mothers. And I think when we all talk about our mothers, there's a smile that kind of goes over our faces. And that's just a blessing for us all.
Hey, if you've got something you'd like to share with us about your mom, what makes her special, 888-787-5543. Again, that's 888-787-5543. Love to hear from you. Love to hear from the moms. Whatever works, give us a holler. 888-787-5543. Do you remember a Mother's Day when you were a kid, Trey, that stands out above many's? You know, you bought something for your mom, or you?
Well, one time I wrote her a poem. I don't remember what it said, but and she framed it up. And
roses are red, violets are blue.
And she framed it up, and she's still on her wall to this day.
Really?
Yeah. No, I mean, my mom, Calvin and I have talked about this before. We were both raised by single mothers. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and my dad was always around, though, and, I'm still real close to him. But my mom definitely struggled as a single mom and worked real hard to make sure I got through school and then college.
That's beautiful.
And she cooked and cleaned, and she still cooks real well, and she's an awesome mother. I'm very blessed to have her, and my stepdad is actually from Pennsylvania, and they go up there in the summertime when it gets hot. So they actually went up there last week, so that's why she's not in town. But
interesting.
Yeah. Well, I just think that we really have to appreciate the mothers because they have a balancing act. Nowadays, some of the mothers are trying to be too much of the kids' friends as opposed to being a mother. Being a mother is tough. Like I said, I used to hate when my grandmother would put the belt to me, but she needed to. Nowadays, everybody wants to just get along with everybody, and I think that sometimes, maybe today's mother sometimes forgets that they can't just be the kid's friend. You have to be mother.
Yeah, you can be that friend, but you can't be that friend that doesn't discipline. Yes, you got to discipline. Yes, and in that discipline, it's got to be the respect both ways.
And I'm not against whoopings. We all went to this Emmitt Smith Foundation dinner on Friday, and the comedian was talking about whoopings. I think whoopings still need to exist. I think a lot of people are really bad talking a whooping, but I think a kid that gets that has a higher likelihood of growing up to being a productive member of society.
Well, I think if you can get that whooping without the whooping itself, where you get a little accountability, what I mentioned before, I totally understand. But unfortunately, the world we live in, and for someone, and I'm speaking about myself, so jump on board whenever you want, but far too often we see domestic violence and where it has come to today. I'm so glad it's out of the closet, I guess, best put. But there's a fine line between those whoopings, which I totally hear where Trey's coming from. But it's a fine line. And there's too many stories I know about kids that have been beat to a pulp because the father was just a downright jerk and couldn't control himself and just was a bad guy. He was an hombre.
And see, that's the thing. And this world has become, in a sense, so twisted. When we got whoopings, they spanked you just to pull you back from doing something that you were not supposed to do. And it was used as a last resort. And like I said, I didn't have to get a lot of them because I didn't want any more of them. And so, but at the same time, nowadays you have people, it's like they're taking out their life's troubles and you can't do that. And in Texas, and I've heard we have this conversation about corporal punishment. Some people don't understand that, hey, we do that down here sometimes. But it's not like what these people do nowadays, beating your kids and doing all this other stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. But I hear where you're coming from. And I think it was taken in the right vein with which it was given. But it's a fine line. I did a video on a young family that was 3 kids. One was killed, beaten to a pulp, 2 years old. That's just so wrong. And
well, there's a difference.
Yeah,
there's
I know, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
some people don't
some
know
people
what the
go too
difference
far.
difference is. How are you doing over there, Granny?
Fine. I'm just listening.
What do you think about the world the way it is today? All that goes on, people getting along. Are we in a better place today than we were when you were growing up?
No. I think it's better when I was coming up.
Why has it gotten worse? What are we doing wrong? How can we make it better?
Because, you know what make it better? Make it worse now. Children do not mind their parents. And most parents don't care about what their kids do. You know, your teacher is like your mother. And the teachers cannot do nothing with the children now in school because they don't want to obey. But you got to listen to your school teacher because she's just like a mother to you. You listen, she's just like a mother. She's the one teaching you. She already got her education. Some of them don't care if you get it, if you don't. But I've raised a girl, she's a teacher, and I'm telling her, don't be like that. You got to teach your kids, and you got to love them.
And see, that's why it's so important, because I do education law, and I represent teachers all the time, and I understand the importance of teachers. And you're right. I think a lot of parents are siding with the children as opposed to saying, hey, look, this teacher is telling me my child is struggling with A, B, and C. Let's work on A, B, and C. What they say is, no. It's not A, B, and C. It's you. And then they're sending kids to school that don't behave, and we got to cut that out. We got to quit pointing at the teachers all the time. Sometimes we have to get these parents in here and say, look, teach your kids how to behave. Give them to me, and I'll take care of the rest.
Boy, are you ever spot on with that? Really, with that response, Calvin, you are spot on.
And back in my day, if you got in trouble in school, you got in double trouble
yes,
at home.
Yes, you did. That's right. In school and then at home, right?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
You did.
Yeah. Go ahead, man.
And nowadays, if you get in trouble at school, the parent goes to school and tries to get the teacher in trouble, which is just completely unacceptable.
Well, again, we go back to that word accountability. Nobody wants to be accountable for the actions of their child. They just don't, and it's so wrong.
The worst thing that could happen is that if my mom had to come home from work or she had to come up to the school, that's just something I didn't want to happen. That's just, look, you don't want that. That was like, here come your mom, it was like a warning sign, like the tornado warning came off and she's coming down the hallway. But you didn't want to misbehave and take her away from doing whatever it was she was doing because you couldn't behave yourself in school. It just didn't make sense. And in my family, you didn't do it or you got a whooping.
Have you got some questions for your grandmother?
I do.
What is?
Grandma, what would you like to see the mothers of today do better?
What would I like to see do?
See them do better.
Be a mother for your child. Love them. Make sure they be dressed right and go to school and obey. Get in a good church, a good Christian church, and listen and obey the pastor. And we have missions in that church can help you. All you have to do is ask, because I have a mission in a church for years, and I hope so many children that wasn't not none of me and my husband. We bought stuff for them, give them a place to stay, and some of them, they made real good out themselves. Some of them school teachers, got good jobs, and doing fine. I was a missionary in church. I work all over the church. I don't care what you are and what you're doing. I'm there to help you. That was my job in church, to help people and things and teach them what's right from wrong.
And we were members of the Lord Missionary Baptist Church. Our Reverend Carlton Garrett, they named the street after him after he passed away. But Reverend Garrett, down there in the off Bear Street, in the Bonton community, a wonderful man, did a lot of great work, taught us to get in the church and work. And I think that's something that I think we lose sight of in this day. It was more about community. There were ladies named like Miss Agnes and Miss Julia, and I think about those things, and then I almost and my dear who made the tea cakes. Miss Georgia, because we would call her. She was older than my grandmother, but she made these tea cakes, and they were so good that if she told you hey, I'm not going to make the tea cakes today. You start behaving. If you were misbehaving, you told your friends, hey, y'all stop. We're not going to get tea cakes. And she sat down and she watched everybody. And if she had to go tell my grandmother on me, I was going to get it when I got home. Because if I was out there misbehaving, she'd go tell my grandmother, and there was no argument about that. I mean, you were misbehaving because Miss Georgia said it, and you were going to get it when you got home. And I think we've lost that. I think we've really lost that in this world, and we got to get back to that. It has to be more of the village, like they say. It takes a village to raise a child. We have this, so we don't have the village mentality anymore, and we need the village mentality more than ever now.
And yet, you see so many parents out there; they don't want anybody telling them how to raise their child.
Kids, sure don't.
Well, and back in my day, kids would just go outside to play. You get home from school, you go outside, you play with the other kids. I have a son who's 12, and he doesn't do that. He doesn't go play with the other kids in the neighborhood, and we play till the street lights came on, and then we had to be back.
Oh yeah.
And
is it more for security reasons though?
I think it's more for security, and then I don't think people. I mean, they know each other on Facebook, they know each other through all these other circles or whatever, but they don't know each other like they used to. I think people don't know each other's business, so parents are a little bit more alerted on sending kids to other kids' houses and all that stuff. But, kids just don't go outside and just play like they used to.
Well, and I think parents are those that are responsible enough to be concerned, as they should be, about their children, whether they're 8 years old or whether they're 14 years old. You've got a daughter, you've got whatever. You don't want them going down in the street if you don't know that family. Maybe worst case scenario, maybe the old man's a child molester, the guy that lives down the street, and you don't know that. You want it. It's unfortunate that it's come to that, Trey, because I totally agree with you. That's how I grew up too. Mm-hmm. We went out, we'd play some hoops, we'd be out till the sun went down, and then we had to go in and have dinner and do homework. We did that every single day. Exactly what you're saying, but you fear now for your kids even riding a bicycle that if they're out of sight. Yeah. Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be all right? Is somebody going to grab them? And then we find out that our child's missing, as we see on the news every single day.
My son is real into basketball. That's what he likes to do. And there's a park about 3 blocks from our house, and he's 12. And the other day was the first time I let him. He said, "Can I walk down there, play basketball with these kids that play over there, and come back?" I'm like, "All right, that's fine." And he did it, and no problems. It was all fine. Yeah, but when I was his age and younger, I used to ride my bike to the public pool in the summertime and swim there all day. And then,
what year was that?
1984,
okay.
85.
Thank you. Add about 30 years.
Sure.
32, 33 years, the world has changed.
And you're right, because you made me think about this. Like, people we'll say Miss Georgia, she'd sit on her porch. So she watched everybody, and her house was kind of like in the middle of the block. So she saw everything that went on. So if something weird was to happen, she'd know it, she'd see it, and she'd tell everybody. And I think that the village mentality, like I said, that people need to get together and try to understand each other, look at each other to where they're comfortable, and then take the village mentality to try to figure out how we can do a better job of helping kids interact. And the last thing I want to say is, when you think about it, kids interact learning how to interact with people by interacting with other children. If they're interacting with a video game all of the time and it's a bunch of shooting on this thing all the time, then that's what they learn. And here we go. They have to learn to interact with each other, because that's how you're going to be successful in life, interacting with people.
Case closed. Closed. Name of the show is Relationship Roundtable. Trey Harris, Calvin Johnson, and also Granny Mary Johnson in the house as well. I'm Scott Murray. We're back with some final thoughts right after this.